Well, hello and welcome back to Filbert Flies. My name's Filbert, and today we're taking another flight in the Airbus A320 Neo in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but with a difference today because we will be testing out the Flight Crew A320 program, which has recently been released by FS2 Crew. What it does is it provides you essentially with a virtual first officer. So they will run through checklists with you, and in addition to that, the software allows them to interact with certain switches and buttons in the aircraft and take some of the workload off you as the pilot flying. So let's have a look. Here we are, parked at Terminal 2 of San Francisco in the Alaska Airlines livery from the livery megapack. And to the left of this my main flight simulator window, I have the FS2 Crew Flight Crew A320 main panel. Now unfortunately Streamlabs OBS won't pick up this window for some reason, so I can't actually show it to you. But if you go to www.fs2crew.com, you will be able to find out everything you need to know about this program, and I will demonstrate it to you as we progress. So the first thing we're going to do is run the pre-flight events. And what this should do is, first of all, connect the jetway to the aircraft.
Okay.
There you are. So we no longer have to talk to the ATC to get the jetway attached, which is good. And you will have heard the first officer say, let's start setting up. So the pre-flight events are a pre-programmed list of things that happen over the course of 30 minutes. So as time goes on, you'll hear various people interact with us on the flight deck. A load sheet will be delivered. The cabin crew, the purser, will ask if it's okay to start boarding and that sort of thing. So it really does turn your plane into a living, breathing environment. As I say, the pre-flight events last 30 minutes. They're entirely optional. You don't have to use them at all. And if you do want to use them, but you don't necessarily want to wait for 30 minutes, then you have the option to fast forward. And we'll be taking advantage of that once we've set up the flight deck. So it's 6 a.m. here in San Francisco, and it's not actually. It's about 5:30, I think. I set it to a sensible time before departure. It's 5:38, so our scheduled time of departure is 6 a.m. So we should be treated to a very nice sunrise over California once we're in the air. Right, let's get on board. Cancel the warning alarm for the door, and we will start setting up. So on the overhead panel, you'll see the batteries are on. We're connected to external power. And I've turned the fuel pumps on as well, because I forgot to do that last time I flew, and was very confused as to why the engines wouldn't start. Okay, so if we come down to the MCDU, you'll see on the init A page that we already have our route programmed in from San Francisco to Seattle. This was planned as usual using SimBrief and imported before we started the flight. You can see how I do that on my YouTube channel. Under the how-tos or tutorials section. We'll set a cost index of 20 for this flight, and we'll go and have a look at our flight plan page. Interestingly, KSFO is missing, and we actually seem to just have our first waypoint on departure shown on the map. I don't know why that is. Ordinarily it loads the standard instrument departure as planned, but that does look like the first waypoint. I'm just looking at my charts on the iPad in Navigraph. That does look like the first waypoint we are expecting. We're going out via Trucken. So we're planning on taking off from one of the northwesterly runways, heading to Trucken and then following the Trucken to RNAV departure. And if we go into plan mode, we can step through the various points. I'll zoom out a little bit and make sure that we've got no strange gaps or anything like that, as can sometimes happen on this default A320 Neo. But no, that looks pretty good. So I think now would be a good point to get the ATIS, find out what we're doing weather-wise at San Francisco this morning. But it won't let me. Right, well we'll get our clearance and maybe it will after that.
Alaska 1341 IFR to Seattle, ready to copy.
Alaska 1341 is cleared to Seattle Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 28 right, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure frequency is 135.1 squawk 2107.
Alaska 1341 cleared to Seattle Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 28 right, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure on 135.1 squawk 2107.
Alaska 1341 readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.8 when ready to taxi.
Right, sorry, I'm just having a few problems. The YouTube connection to the chat has dropped out for some reason. I'll pop out a separate chat window so I can keep an eye on who is about. Right, so we've got our clearance now. Automatically tuned the transponder to 2107. Yes. I'm bothered by the fact we don't have the option to select the runway and the SID at the top here. I don't know why that is. That's not in the database apparently. Never mind, never mind. We can still go through our performance pages. Oh, it thinks we've already taken off. That is the problem. So we can't set up our performance page. Right, I think what we're going to have to do is restart the flight. And I will start again with the stream after that's done. Right, we're back in business. We will get some power into the aircraft, turn on the battery switches. And we've already started our pre-flight sequence, so I don't think we can start that again in FS2 Crew. So what I'll do is I'll try closing it down and restarting it.
Let's start setting up. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So the door is open. We'll cancel the alarm. We'll change the time because I think I originally set it to 5:30, which is a little bit early. We don't want to be hanging around on the ground for half an hour probably. So we'll set it to 5:40. Let's just pop outside. Ah yes, this is what happened. The jetway at this gate doesn't quite connect to the aircraft properly. It's in the wrong position and it goes through the aircraft. So what I did was slewed to another gate. I stayed on the ground, so I didn't think we'd have any problems. But that is why the aircraft thought we'd already taken off and I couldn't use the perf takeoff page. So just, yeah, we won't look at that. That's just what the jetway does here. Right, anyway, setting up the overhead. We wanted our nav and logo lights on, and I've put the fuel pumps on. We're on external power. I think while we're up here we'll start the APU, get the aircraft nice and warm for the passengers who will be boarding shortly. And we'll get our clearance again.
San Francisco ground Alaska 1341 ready to copy IFR clearance to Seattle.
Alaska 1341 is cleared to Seattle Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 28 right climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 135.1 squawk 0735.
Alaska 1341 cleared to Seattle Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 28 right climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure on 135.1 squawk 0735.
Alaska 1341 read back correct. Contact ground on 121.8.
Right. So where were we? We were looking at the flight plan page, and now we have our runway 28 right departure via the Trucken 2 standard instrument departure with a Delta Echo Delta Hotel Delta transition, which I can see on my SID chart in Navigraph on my iPad. And basically the way this departure works, we take off, we make a turn to the right towards Trucken, and then we will be turning left heading 353 towards, let's call it Deadhead. Good. So we just have to put the cost index of 20 back in here. And we'll put the zero fuel weight center of gravity in, which I'd got from the flight plan page. That was 26.25, so we'll call it 26.3. 57.7/26.3. Good. Now if we go to our perf takeoff page, we can set that up. So we're going to be doing a 1+F flaps takeoff with a flex takeoff temperature of 59. Our transition altitude is going to be 18,000 feet. And our thrust reduction is 1500. Our acceleration altitude will be 3,000 feet. And the thing we need to do now is input these V speeds into Flight Crew A320. So there's a settings button, and it's as simple as replacing the ones that are already in there with the ones calculated here. Although of course you can use performance calculators online and that sort of thing to get your own V speeds. The important thing is that the ones in Flight Crew A320 match the ones that the aircraft is going to use, because that way we'll get accurate call-outs during takeoff. So the APU should have started now, so we'll put the APU bleed on and we can get rid of the external power. I'm just going to adjust the brightness of my navigation display and my PFD, because they're quite glaring when flying in darkness. And our dome light we can turn on to dim for takeoff. Let's just have a look at plan mode and see at least that the initial departure is correct, and it is. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. Two 8 right, 28 right. Good. So I mentioned earlier the ability to fast forward the pre-flight events on FS2 Crew, and I'm going to do that now on the more in-depth A320 simulations. There's quite a lot more to keep you busy in the flight deck before you set off, but we are pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to just use the plus button and fast forward from the 25 minutes we're on now.
Hi, the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
To 20 minutes.
Yes, you can start boarding.
And we will,
okay.
We will confirm that we're ready for boarding. And whenever we want, we can run the before start checklist. Now this I will do by either clicking the button on the Flight Crew A320 panel, or more likely by using the shortcut key.
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On and auto.
Adheres.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
Set.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrel ref.
2992. Set.
2992. Set. Down to the line.
Now, before you join me, I had set the barrow reference, and that's obviously been lost with the restart, so I'll redo that. Our barrow reference is in fact 2980, but that won't affect anything too much. So we've done the before start checklist down to the line. We will continue with it below the line once boarding is complete and the doors are shut. Turn the flight director on. That's something I often forget. And we'll go back to the perf page ready for takeoff. Okay, and we will fast forward the pre-flight events again. So we're at 16 minutes now, and shortly we should receive our load sheet.
Hi guys, here's the load sheet for you.
Thanks.
No problem, have a safe flight.
So we've got our load sheet. There's not a physical load sheet, obviously, but we know our data as best we can from the flight plan.
Welcome on board today. As you locate your assigned seats, please place your smaller items under the seat in front of you to provide more room for larger items in our overhead compartments. If you need assistance, contact a flight attendant. If you are unable to accommodate any item in the cabin, please bring it to the boarding door and we will check it for you. Also review the safety instruction card in your seat pocket. If you are seated at an exit seat, also review the exit seating criteria.
So that happened at T-minus 10 minutes, so we will fast forward a little further, see what happens next.
Hey guys, are we clear to close?
Yes.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
So we've just given the cabin crew clearance to close the main aircraft door because boarding is completed. The door page on here, I believe, is inoperable. Yep, so we can't actually have a look at when the door is closed, sadly. But if we have a look outside, we should hopefully see the jetway disconnect once the door has closed. It is a pity that it's halfway through the aircraft, and that is why I slewed out the way, but to a different gate. But that messed everything up, so we're stuck with what we have. If I fast forward, so at 1 minute the door closes, and hopefully the jetway will disconnect. Yes, it is. Excellent. So now we've done that, we are pretty much ready for departure, and we can run the before start checklist below the line.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
Beacon.
On.
Are you sure about that? Thrust levers.
Yes. Yes, I am sure about that, but I was a little slow. I apologise. Thrust levers are idle.
Idle.
Parking brake.
Parking brake is set.
On.
Before start checklist complete.
Right, so the next thing we do is call for our pushback, and then we'll go through the engine start procedure.
San Francisco ground Alaska 1341 requesting pushback.
Alaska 1341 pushback request accepted.
Okay, so the pushback tug is just attaching up. Interestingly, FS2 crew are also working, as far as I'm aware, on a pushback add-on, which should give us much more realistic pushback. And I'm very much looking forward to that, because as you know, I can never work out which way to tell the ground crew to steer the aircraft, and nor should I have to. I did, I think, release the parking brake. I pressed Control dot, but it hasn't worked, so there we are. Parking brake released. And I believe we want the tail to go to the right. You would start engines during pushback, but as this is our first time using FS2 crew and I want you to be able to focus on what I'm up to with that, we'll sort the pushback out first and start the engines after it's done. It's always a bit of a gamble when to ask the tug driver to steer your aircraft. I think roughly when the tail just overlaps the taxi line is probably about right. Sorry, the taxiway centre line. So let's try now.
San Francisco ground Alaska 1341 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
Alaska 1341, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
Slightly early, but not too bad. Better than we've done it on previous flights, I think.
San Francisco ground Alaska 1341 requesting the end of pushback.
Alaska 1341 request to end pushback received.
Okay, so we are ready to start the engines. Get back on board. We will turn the engine mode selector to on/start. And we will announce starting
engine 2.
And we'll monitor the engine start on here. Parking brake set. So I believe that it's usual to start engine 1 first and then engine 2, or start them both at the same time on the A320 Neo. Purely based on what I've heard and read around the internet, I don't know how accurate that is. But in FS2 crew, you start engine 2 first. That's the only option. And I don't have a problem with that, really. Okay, so engine 2 is online, and we'll announce starting engine 1.
Starting engine 1.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our flight today. This is the lead flight attendant speaking. Please direct your attention to the cabin crew for port safety information. There is an instruction card in your seat pocket that illustrates the safety equipment on this aircraft. Regulations require compliance with this information as well as all crew instructions, lighted information signs, and posted placards. Fasten your seatbelt seatbelt by inserting the metal tip into the buckle. Tighten by pulling on the belt. To release your seatbelt, lift the metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. Doors are clearly marked with exit signs and instructions for door operation. Each door is equipped with an escape slide. Locate the exit nearest you. The nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency, lights will illuminate the aisle. The cabin is pressurized if there is a loss of cabin pressure.
Okay, so while this safety briefing goes on, which I really like, it really brings a lot to the experience, we will, now the engines have stabilised, set the engine mode selector to normal, turn off the APU bleed, turn off the APU, and we will call for the after start checklist.
Secure your own mask before assisting others. Your seat bottom cushion may be used as a flotation device. Pull up and remove the cushion. Upon
After start
exiting the
checklist.
aircraft, place your arms around the cushion and
Anti-ice.
hold onto the straps located on the back.
So before we proceed with the checklist, I just want to point out to you that the co-pilot has extended our flaps and armed the speed brake, which is pretty cool.
After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Set.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
Pitch trim I haven't set, so it's a good job he was here. I believe we need about 0.5 nose up. There we are.
25% set.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
So the after start checklist has been done, and we will call for the flight control check.
Flight control check.
So to do that, we will need to move the elevators, ailerons, and rudder. And in the real A320, you can monitor their movement on the ECAM, but you can't do that here, so we'll just do it anyway.
Full up. Full down.
So he's responding to my
Neutral.
inputs to the flight control stick.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Rudder.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
So that's our flight control check done. The documentation that comes with FS2 Crew products is really good, so you can just follow it through until you get your head around the order in which things need to happen. Right, so the first officer has performed his own flight control checks now, and we will perform the taxi flow. So we'll turn the weather radar to on, system 1. We will change predictive wind shear to auto. We won't because it's inoperable, but we would. Terrain on ND is required. We don't require that. Auto brake max is done automatically by Microsoft Flight Simulator for some reason. Right, so now we have a look outside, check it's clear. Clear left side.
Clear right side.
We will turn on the taxi light. We'll get our taxi clearance from ATC.
San Francisco ground Alaska 1341 ready to taxi IFR.
Alaska 1341 taxi to and hold short of runway 28 right using taxiway Alpha Delta Bravo Foxtrot cross runway 19er right Foxtrot cross runway 1 right Foxtrot cross runway 28 left Charlie. Contact tower on 120.5 when ready.
Okay, so we have our taxi clearance. We are going to be following Alpha Delta Bravo Foxtrot. I'm having a look at my map. And yes, basically we go in this direction. Which is good. As usual, the taxi light for some reason has lit up the
Taxi
cockpit
to and hold
like a
short
Christmas
runway
tree.
28 right via taxiway Alpha Delta Bravo Foxtrot cross runway 19er right Foxtrot cross runway 1 right Foxtrot cross runway 28 left Charlie Alaska 1341.
Okay, so we'll release the parking brakes. We'll call for a brake check.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
And we'll start taxiing. It's a bit misty and cloudy, so I think we do probably need anti-ice on today. I can't remember what the air temperature is, but it was not that warm. Okay, so it's plus 13 at the moment, which is fine. But once we get up, it could well be below freezing, below the icing point. And while we're taxiing, we will start the before takeoff checklist down to the line.
Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flap setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
So we'll just 133, 139, 141. We'll just double check that we're on the same
V1,
page.
1, 2, 7, VR, 1, 3, 3, V2, 1, 3, 5.
V1, 1, 2, 7, VR, 1, 3, 3, V2, 1, 3, 5, ATC.
Now that's my fault, because when I restarted the flight, for some reason, that changed our calculated V speeds. I don't know why that is. I would have assumed they'd be the same, but that's not a problem. I'll just go into the settings page of FS2 Crew, and I will put in the figures that we've got. 133, 139, 141. Close the settings page. So the runway we're taking off from is one of these that are parallel to us. It's the furthest one, and we were given clearance to cross both of these runways that we're crossing now. Should really have turned the strobes on, but I was too busy fiddling around. Right, I'm going to go back a step. So there are arrow keys on the FS2 Crew main panel, and they allow you to skip forward or back through checklists and other items. And I'll start the before takeoff checklist again.
Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flap setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
V1, 1, 3, 3, VR, 1, 3, 9, V2, 1, 4, 1.
V1, 1, 3, 3, VR, 1, 3, 9, V2, 1, 4, 1, ATC.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff, no blue.
Down to the line.
So the ECAM memo would normally appear on the lower ECAM display on a more complete simulation of the A320. That's what that's referring to. And the ECAM would show us basically that we're ready for takeoff. And if I can find my printed checklist, I'd be able to tell you exactly what's on it. But I can't easily find it. I don't know what I've done with it. Oh no, I can. Here we are. Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't tell me. But it basically it's what we've gone through with the first officer there during the checklist. I'm just going to double check my taxi instructions. Charlie, so we should be approaching from Charlie, right? So we're on Foxtrot at the moment. We are going to hold short of. Well, they told us to cross runway 28 left. I think we might hold short of it. I think it's more realistic to hold short of the parallel runway rather than just go bumbling across it. And we'll hopefully get our takeoff clearance from there. We'll tune the tower in preparation. And we've given our control of our comms to the flight simulator AI. So we're currently coming up to the holding point for 28 left. So we'll stop there. and see if we can get takeoff clearance. No, it hasn't become an option, so we'll keep going. It's very strange that you can't request takeoff clearance from the tower until you're actually stationary. It would be good if there's nothing coming to receive line up or takeoff clearance as you're approaching the threshold.
San Francisco Tower, Alaska 1341 at runway 28 right, ready for takeoff IFR to Seattle.
Alaska 1341 cleared for takeoff runway 28 right.
Cleared for takeoff runway 28 right, Alaska 1341.
Okay, so we've been cleared for takeoff. Now to trigger the next actions in FS2 crew, we need to turn the runway turn-off lights on and turn the nose light to takeoff from taxi. Okay, before takeoff
the line.
checklist.
Cabin
Below
crew,
the
be
line.
seated for takeoff. Takeoff runway.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Cabin crew.
Advised.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
PAX.
On.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Okay, and as we've received takeoff clearance, we'll turn the landing lights on as we line up. Okay, so the next thing we do is we ask our first officer if they're ready.
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 Takeoff.
Stand the thrust levers up, wait till the engines are stable.
Man flex, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue.
Check.
Didn't mean to do that, so
Thrust
you
set.
you normally advance the thrust levers to flex and then announce the FMA. I did it the wrong way around. We'll see what happens next.
100 knots.
Check.
V1. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
So I just announced gear up, and the co-pilot put it up for me. Let's engage the autopilot.
Check.
135.1 for Alaska 1341. Departure Alaska 1341 is climbing through 1,500 feet for 6,000 feet.
Alaska 1341 departure continue as planned. Altimeter 29.80.
And once we pass the S speed here, we will ask the co-pilot to retract the flaps.
Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flap 0.
And he's done that for me. Oh, look at that sky. The next thing we want to run is the after takeoff climb checklist.
After takeoff climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
PAX.
On.
Down to the line.
And then after we pass the transition altitude of 18,000 feet, we will run that checklist below the line. levelling off at 6,000 feet. As usual, we've broken the 250 knot speed restriction. And as I've said before, it's not my fault, it's the aircraft.
Alaska 1341, climb and maintain 11,000 feet. Climb and maintain 11,000 feet, Alaska 1341.
Right, now we're airborne, we can turn off the nose light, we can turn off... Oh, he's already done it. Co-pilot's already done it, that's good. Turn off the runway turn-off lights. I forgot to put the strobes on. Well, there's no moisture or clouds in the air, so we'll turn off the anti-ice now as well, I think. Honestly, you should see me fly when I'm not streaming. I do everything very much better.
Alaska 1341, contact Oakland, center on 119.475. 119.475 for Alaska 1341. Oakland Center, Alaska 1341 is at 8,300 feet, climbing 11,000 feet.
Alaska 1341 Oakland Center, continue to IP as planned. Altimeter 29.80.
So passing 10,000 feet, we'll turn off the landing lights. Oh, I'm getting a lot of stutter today. It's probably because this is a photogrammetry city, so there's a lot of detail loading in below us.
Alaska 1341, climb and maintain flight level 210.
Climb and maintain flight level 210, Alaska 1341.
Dear oh dear. So much stutter. I've twisted the wrong knob. 210, wasn't it? Yeah. And because we've been cleared to a flight level, we can set the altimeters to standard now. Or we could do it passing 18,000, but let's do it now so it's out of the way. And then I believe we press this, yeah we do, we press the secondary button, which for me is Control-Shift-V.
Set standard.
Standard. Cross-checked. Passing flight level 121. Now.
Check.
So as you notice, I set my own altimeter and then I told the co-pilot to set the altimeters. He set them to standard, cross-checked them, and told us and cross-checked the altitude as well. And now we've passed. Now we've set our altimeters. We can run the after takeoff climb checklist below the line.
Below the line.
Barrow ref.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff checklist complete.
And that is really all we need to do in terms of checklists and interaction with the co-pilot until we are ready to set up for the descent and approach. But I'll show you some of the other features that FS2 Crew has once we get up to cruising altitude. And in the meantime, I'll give you a little look at the world outside.
Alaska 1341, contact Oakland Center on 127.8.
127.8, Alaska 1341. Oakland Center, Alaska 1341 is at flight level 180, climbing flight level 210.
Alaska 1341, Oakland Center, continue to orbit as planned.
Beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. I was humming and hawing about doing this flight because it was very dark when we set off. I do have the traffic over there.
Alaska 1341 have the traffic.
So we're just levelling off at 210. As per usual, we don't get any further climb clearance until we level off, but never mind.
Alaska 1341, climb and maintain flight level tree 0.
Climb and maintain flight level tree 0, Alaska 1341.
We can probably turn the dome light off now.
And maintain 10,000 feet.
There we are.
Climb and maintain 10,000 feet, generic 1 Tango Hotel.
Alaska 1341, contact Oakland Center on 132.2.
132.2, Alaska 1341. Oakland Center, Alaska 1341 is at flight level 240, climbing flight level tree 0.
Alaska 1341, Oakland Center, continue to work as planned.
So to those of you who have just joined us, we are flying today from San Francisco to Seattle, and this is my first stream using Flight Crew A320, the new product from FS2 Crew, which provides you with a virtual first officer amongst other things. We had a little bit of an issue at the start of the flight. The aircraft thought we'd already taken off when we hadn't, and the reason for this was that I had slewed from one gate which had a jetway that didn't work properly to another gate which had a jetway that did work properly, so we had to restart the flight. But we're up in the air now. We're on departure out of San Francisco. The sun's rising and it's a great time to be alive. So one of the other features that Flight Crew A320 has is you can call the purser.
Hi, it's Andy at L1. How can I help you?
And you can advise them of things like reaching the top of descent, or a delayed departure, or the need to divert. But you can also request food and drinks. I'm going to ask for a drink.
Hi, could you bring us some water, please?
Okay, I'll bring the drinks up in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few moments, we'll begin our meal service for the flight. Please refer to the menu given to you on boarding for the 2 meal
Hi guys,
choices
here are
and
the
2
drinks.
beverage choices available.
Thank you.
We would
Lovely,
like to keep
lovely.
the aisle
Nice bottle of
clear
water,
to
just what I
display
needed.
To serve you efficiently and also for your own safety.
Yeah, very refreshing. And as you can hear, there are appropriate cabin announcements made by the cabin crew at various stages of the flight as well.
Alaska 1341, climb and maintain flight level tree 60.
Climb and maintain flight level tree 60, Alaska 1341.
So I've been using FS2 Crew products for quite a long time now for the PMDG 737, 747 and the FS Labs A320, and they really make a big difference to the flight in terms of immersion and realism and just workload sharing. It's obviously not very realistic to fly an airliner single pilot, so having a co-pilot with you to do their share of the work is a blessing. This version, the Flight Crew A320, is compatible not only with the default A320 Neo in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but also with the FS Labs A320 in P3D and FSX, and also the Aerosoft Airbus family in those sims as well. It's not quite as in-depth as the earlier products, and the reason for that, I believe, is that the Microsoft Flight Simulator SDK doesn't have quite the same capabilities at the moment as are to be found in the older sims. But the price reflects the fact that it isn't quite as in-depth and doesn't do quite as much for you. And from what I've seen so far, considering the launch price is, I believe, $14 $15 it's a really good deal. I'm very happy with it. And much as I miss the FS Labs A320 that I flew in FSX, where else can you experience scenery like this? Nowhere. And so I'm pretty happy with what we've got with the default aircraft, and I'm even happier now that I've got FS2 Crew to go with it. So we are at our cruising altitude of 36,000 feet now. And I will... interesting. We don't often in FS2 Crew products you have a PA announcement that you can play as you reach your cruising altitude, just a sort of generic welcome aboard from the captain. That doesn't exist here. There's a welcome message that can be played at the gate. There's the option to advise of a departure delay. Cabin crew arm slides and cross-check, which I did mean to play on the ground as we were pushing back, but totally forgot about. And various other options. You'll be able to, have a look at the website, and you'll be able to make your own mind up about whether this product's for you. But so far so good from my point of view. And I'm going to leave you alone and stop talking for a while. I'll be monitoring the chat if anyone has any questions or comments. But I'll leave you to enjoy the views as we cruise from San Francisco to Seattle. I'll see you shortly.
Alaska 1341, contact Seattle Center on 127.6.
127.6 Alaska 1341. Seattle Center Alaska 1341 flight level 360.
Alaska 1341, Seattle Center, continue as planned.
Right, I'm back. We are roughly 100 miles before our top of descent point. So it's time to begin planning for our descent, approach and landing at Seattle. I'm very excited about this one because Seattle was the very first place I visited when I started on the Microsoft Flight Simulator Alpha, and it was, yeah, my first taste of this glorious sim. So with FS2 Crew's Flight Crew A320, the first thing we need to do is hand over control of the aircraft to our co-pilot, which will allow us to focus on our planning.
You have control.
I have control.
And now we need to have a look at the weather in Seattle. So I'll bring up a METAR.
Alaska 1341, contact Seattle Center on 128.15.
128.15 for Alaska 1341. Seattle Center, Alaska 1341, flight level 360.
Alaska 1341, Seattle Center, continue to KNGDM as planned.
Okay, so the weather in Seattle at the moment is slightly rainy. We've got broken clouds at 600 feet and an overcast at 1,200 feet. Wind is 300 at 3. So we'll be looking at an arrival onto runway 28 right using the ILS. Sorry, correction, runway 34 right using the ILS. So that's what we'll plan for, and if it gets changed, then so be it. So let's come and have a look at what we have planned in our flight plan. So the Hawk Zulu 7 arrival, and all we need to do is come down here and choose ILS 34 right. And it's automatically selected the Bravo Tango Golf transition for us. So if we go to temporary insert, then that should have our waypoints added all the way down to final. We'll double check that using the plan mode up here. Just zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And that all looks pretty good, pretty straightforward. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is input the data into the perf approach page. So we'll go to perf, next phase, QNH. Now it was 30.08 inches of mercury. God, I'm getting my units muddled. I think I mean millimeters of mercury, do I? No, I do. Inches of mercury. We need to convert that into hectopascals. So I'll do that. 30.06 inches of mercury in hectopascals is 1018. So we'll put that in there. 1018. The temperature at the moment is 13. And the wind is, as I said, 300 at 3. Transition altitude is 18,000 feet. And looking at the approach plate for our decision altitude should be 572. So we're only just going to be out of the clouds for it. So that'll be fun. Given my last few landings, I did promise you a buttery smooth ILS approach on my very next video, and that is what I'm going to do my best to provide. But no promises. I already have promised, but forget about that promise. No fresh promises. Good, so that is our FMGC setup. We also need, I believe, to set the auto brakes. Probably, there's quite a long runway, so we'll set it to auto brake low. And we'll try and use idle reverse just by pressing F2 a little bit. I haven't yet found a key command for idle reverse. Right, so now we can retake control.
I have control.
You have control.
And the next thing we'll need to do is run the approach checklist after we pass the transition altitude, transition level. So I've got the star plate up on my iPad now, so I'm just going to go through the flight plan and check that it makes sense. Right, Kingdom, Russell, BTG. So at BTG we need to be at 24,000 feet or above. Flight level 240 or above. As usual, it's put a B for below on the FMGC. But in my experience that's fine, and it does tend to follow the arrival procedure fairly well. At Patera we need to be at flight level 220 or above. Okay. And then at Krieg, we don't have a given altitude restraint. Hawks, 12,000 or above at 270 knots. And I don't think it'll let us input 270 knot speed restriction. No, it just brings up our lateral revision page. That's alright. Let's just have a fiddle around. See what happens. Yeah, we can only do lateral revision. We can't put a speed limit in. Right, so from Hawks we want to go to line. Yes. And interestingly, it's given us a 210 knot speed restriction there and a 230 speed restriction there. So it's actually commanding slower speeds than are necessary. But better too slow than too fast. I'll be interested to see if the Navigraph data corrects this, or if it's actually a fault with the aircraft rather than the nav data itself. Where were we? Hawks, Linny, Piquez. Hawks, Linny. Yeah, Piquez.
Alaska 1341, contact Seattle Center on 125.8.
And then it all changes a little bit. Am I
Going
looking
to
at the wrong plate?
125.8 Alaska 1341. Seattle Center Alaska 1341 flight level 360.
Alaska 1341, Seattle Center, continue to result as planned.
No, so we've got the correct arrival route planned in, the correct transition, but it changes unless I'm missing something. Hawks, Linny, yes. Piquez, yes. But then I do not have JPOX on my plan, on my approach chart. Should be Coffee, Breathe, Nets and Quest.
Skywest Tree 9er 15, contact Seattle Center on 128.15.
Oh, okay. Perhaps there's another chart which actually takes you away from the star. Bear with me. I know sometimes you get an initial approach chart. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So Jaipox, Wagty and Neil, they're actually on the approach chart. And then Clues, Buck. I'd better not try and pronounce the next one. CNNTI. Yes, but that's fine. That's fine. We'll be established on the localizer by then. So it all looks good. And we've got a V approach of 156 at the moment. That'll probably go down as we burn fuel and extend our flaps. So we're just waiting for descent clearance and we'll start making our way down into Seattle.
Generic 6 Charlie Charlie, you are 300 feet above your assigned altitude. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet altimeter 30.06. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet, generic 6 Charlie Charlie. Southwest 1279er, you are 17,500 feet above your assigned altitude. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet Southwest 1279er.
So the reason that I keep bringing up this ATC window is to double check I haven't missed a descent clearance, because we are actually a fair way beyond our planned top of descent now. But you know, we've still got a long way to run, so we won't have an issue getting down. But it always makes me slightly anxious when they don't give us a descent clearance when I'm expecting it. Never mind, we'll just enjoy the pretty clouds with the morning glow on them and hope for the best.
Generic 40 Tango, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Climb and maintain 10,000 feet, generic 40 Tango. Alaska 1341, contact Seattle Center on 124.2.
Going to 1 124.2 Alaska 1341. Seattle Center Alaska 1341 flight level 360. Alaska 1341 Seattle Center, continue to Bravo Tango Golf as planned. Alaska 1341 descent and maintain flight level 240. Descent and maintain flight level 240 Alaska 1341.
Okay, so we've got our descent clearance to flight level 240 now, and what we'll do in Flight Crew A320 is we'll make a PA to advise that we are starting our descent.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck, this is the captain speaking. We're going to begin our initial descent here momentarily. At this time, I'm going to turn the seatbelt sign back on, so please return to your seats and keep your seatbelt securely fastened until the aircraft has come to a stop at the gate and the seatbelt sign has been turned off. It's been our pleasure having you on board for today's flight, and we hope to see you back on a future flight again real soon. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
Very nice, very nice. Definitely makes you feel more like a real airline captain. Not that I ever doubted my credentials, but this certainly adds something. And there are different voice sets as well that come with FS2 Crew. There is a UK option, a US option, and a European option, as well as 2 additional. Let me just have a quick look at the settings. Yeah, so we've also got a second EU option with an HS filter and a second US option with a female pilot or co-pilot. I'm not sure, I haven't tried it. Possibly both. So we're well into our standard terminal arrival route now, and we still haven't been told which approach we can expect. But as I say, I'm hopeful for a 3-4 right approach as planned. And the next thing we'll need to do is set the altimeters as we're passing the transition level, or when we're cleared to an altitude rather than a flight level, i.e. a height below 18,000 feet. I can't get enough of these clouds, they are stunning. I know I say this on every stream whenever we fly over clouds, but I don't care. Get used to it.
You are 700 feet above your assigned altitude. Descent and maintain 10,000 feet altimeter 30.03. Descent and maintain 10,000 feet Delta 119er. Delta 119er, contact Portland departure on 118.1.
Delta 119er, if you're interested, is a flight from Portland to Minneapolis.
118.1 for Delta 119er.
I've just double checked the price of FS2 Crew, and I was right, but I used the wrong currency. So it's currently €14.95. That's a launch offer, so special 2-week only early adopter promo until the 15th of September, after which it'll be €19.95. And I have to say, from what I've seen of it so far, I think it's worth it, certainly for me. Anyone who's interested in operating the A320 as realistically as possible, whether it's this default A320 on Microsoft Flight Simulator or one of the other two products that are supported in FSX and P3D, I think it'll be money well spent. If, however, you just like to have a fly around occasionally in the A320 and perhaps are more into GA flying, then it may not be worth it for you, but I hope this video will give you a good idea of what it's all about. So we're just levelling out at flight level 240, and hopefully we'll get further descent clearance shortly. Okay, so the FMGC thinks we should be at flight level 220 at the moment.
Alaska 1341 descent and maintain 14,000 feet. Descent and maintain 14,000 feet, Alaska 1341.
Oh, I'm having a lot of stuttering. Don't like it. Right, 14,000 feet, which is obviously an altitude as opposed to a flight level. It's below our transition altitude. And we can therefore set the altimeter. I'm just going to double check if the setting has changed. 30.08. Really, ATC should tell us that, but they don't. And so now we can use the secondary button to ask the first officer to set the altimeter.
3008 set.
3008 set. Passing to 3,200. Now.
Check.
And now we can run our approach checklist.
Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Baro ref.
3008 set.
3008 set. Minimum. Engine mode selector.
Double check the engine mode selector is on normal. Yes, it is.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
And what should I have done as we're about to descend through cloud? I should have put the engine anti-ice to on. And I'm also going to turn on the windshield de-ice. It should be on auto when it's off, but I have experienced some icing before, so I think that's a slight bug in the simulator. So we'll have it on. And we may need to turn on the wing anti-ice as well. As we pass 20,000 feet, the first officer should automatically make a PA to the cabin, asking the cabin crew to prepare for arrival.
Cabin crew, prepare for arrival.
And there it is. We're going to just have a quick look at the navigation radios, make sure they are tuned for the ILS. I know we haven't really been given our arrival clearance, but save us forgetting later. 110.3, and on the chart, yeah, 110.3, and the course should be 344. It seems to set that automatically. I don't know if we can alter it here. No, we can't. No biggie. Ooh.
Alaska 1341, contact Seattle Center on 126.6. Going to 126.6, Alaska 1341. Seattle Center, Alaska 1341 is at 16,600 feet, descending 14,000 feet. Alaska 1341, Seattle Center, continue to hogs as planned. Altimeter tree 0.04.
So the in-sim altimeter setting is slightly different to the real-world one, but close enough. And we're not at Seattle yet, it may yet change again.
Horizon Air 22906, you are 3,100 feet below your assigned altitude. Climb and maintain flight level 180, altimeter tree 0.04.
So we're leveling off now at 14,000 feet.
Climb and maintain flight level 180, Horizon Air 22906.
I actually installed one of these community fixes for the to improve the performance of the airliners, which reduces the refresh rate of the displays in the cockpit to 15 Hz. And I haven't noticed a massive difference, to be honest. I am still getting a bit of stutter as I look around. But it's good to have an excuse for when the landing goes wrong, isn't it? So yeah, we won't worry about it.
Horizon Air 22906, descent and maintain 5,000 feet.
Certainly the frame rate and the performance suffers
Alaska 1341,
when I'm
descent and
streaming.
maintain 8,000 feet. Descent and maintain 8,000 feet, Alaska 1341. Descent and maintain 5,000 feet, Horizon Air 22906.
Down to 8,000. Double check the weather. Okay, so the overcast has gone down to 500 feet now, bases. I seem to remember our decision altitude was above that. So we may have to look at doing a Category 2 approach, which should have a lower decision height. Let me just have a quick look at my charts. Yeah, so the decision altitude for the ILS Cat 1 is 572. Cat 2 is 472. And it's a similar, well, it's the same approach path. So yeah, we can do Cat 2 ILS here. Shouldn't be a problem. I'll just... oh, we're not descending. Why are we not descending? Presumably because it's got a restriction in the flight plan. We'll use selected altitude mode to go down to 8,000 feet. And down here, we'll go back to the perf page and change our minimums to 472. Why are you not descending?
Alaska 1341, please expedite your descent to 8,000 feet.
I'm trying. Descent. It's slowing down to our flap extension speed. I'll turn on the landing system. We should be able to pick up the ILS shortly. Just use a little bit of speed brake, which will allow us to descend faster without increasing our airspeed. So at 10,000 feet we'll turn the landing lights on. And then we'll ask the co-pilot via Flight Crew A320 to start extending our flaps on schedule.
Alaska 1341, contact Seattle approach on 120.1. Going to 120.1 Alaska 1341. Seattle approach Alaska 1341 is out of 11,800 feet for 8,000 feet. Alaska 1341 Seattle approach continue to goals as planned. Altimeter 30.04.
We still haven't been given an approach. We still don't know which runway they want us to land on.
Alaska 1341, you are 29 miles south. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 34 right approach via Hippox transition. Cleared to Hippox. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 34 right approach via Hippox transition. Cleared to Hippox Alaska 1341.
Well, that's what we had programmed in, so that's
Ladies
fortunate.
and gentlemen, we'll be arriving at our destination shortly. If you are making a connection to another flight, please see the customer service agent meeting this flight or video monitors inside the terminal for connecting gate information. For your continued safety, flight attendants will now walk through the cabin to secure it for landing. We'll be collecting all service items, newspapers, and any other items you wish to discard or may not be taking off the aircraft with you. Also, in preparation for landing, please turn off all electronic devices. Stow these devices and all other carry-on items. Please use caution when opening overhead bins, as items may have shifted during our flight.
Oh, we want 6,000, please. 6,000. Keep going, keep
To
going.
their upright position and check the security of your seatbelts. We will be landing shortly. Thank you.
And here we are, cloud. Potentially all the way down to 500 feet. Got a bit of turbulence shown on the weather radar over here, but fortunately we'll be avoiding that. Okay, and because we're about to join the final approach course, we'll ask the first officer to extend flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
So according to our approach plate, we should be 7,000 feet at Hippox, as the ATC say, or Jipox, not sure. Let's go with the ATC, I like Hippox. So we're slightly below that, so we should be fine. We'll arm our approach mode as the localizer moves in. We haven't got vertical guidance yet from the glide slope, but we've still got 21 miles left to run, so wouldn't necessarily expect it. Let's retract the speed brake and arm it. I believe the first officer does arm the speed brake automatically if you're not using it with FS2 crew. And we have our glide slope alive.
Alaska 1341, descend and maintain 5,000 feet. Descend and maintain 5,000 feet, Alaska 1341.
And because we're established on the glide slope, we're going to ignore ATC from now on, because that's just not that realistic, I don't think. Very atmospheric in this cloud, isn't it?
Alaska 1341, descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Descend and maintain 4,000 feet, Alaska 1341.
As I say, we'll continue following the glide slope. Visibility has improved, although the overcast has descended somewhat. Visibility is now 5 statute miles, so that's something. So hopefully when we pop out of the cloud at 500 odd feet, we should be able to have a good view of the runway. Oh, there's a glimpse of ground. That's good.
Alaska 1341, you are 14 miles south of Seattle. Contact Seattle Tower on 119.9 when inbound. Tower on 119.9 Alaska 1341. Seattle Tower, Alaska 1341, 13 miles south inbound ILS runway 34 right approach.
Alaska 1341 Seattle Tower. Cleared ILS runway 34 right approach. Altimeter 30.05 wind calm.
Okay, so slight altimeter
Cleared
change.
ILS runway 34 right approach Alaska 1341.
Right, we'll ask for flaps 2 and gear down.
Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Gear down.
Gear down.
Ah, good. Sometimes I quite like it when the in-sim weather doesn't quite match the real world weather. Right, let me get my chair comfy.
Checked.
So that checked was for the radar altimeter, telling us we're at 2,500. We'll have flaps 3 now.
Flaps 3.
Check the speed.
Oh. Now we should be able to extend flaps 3 at whatever speed this is, I would have thought.
Flaps 3.
Check the speed.
Okay. We'll have to reduce our speed manually then. What was our V approach? 156.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
And we'll have flaps
Flaps
full.
full.
Speed checked.
Flaps full.
Cabin crew, be seated for landing.
Let's see if we can return it to managed speed or if it'll accelerate. Seems to be accelerating a bit.
Alaska 1341 cleared
That's,
to land runway 34 right. Wind calm.
Good, clear to land.
Runway 34 right Alaska 1341.
And we'll run the landing checklist.
Landing checklist.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
Auto brake.
Low.
ECAM memo.
Landing. No blue.
Landing checklist complete.
We don't have an ECAM memo here. The next thing for FS2 crew for us to do in there is to decide whether we're continuing or going around at minimums. And I'm going to be quiet now while I take over from the autopilot and hopefully give you the buttery smooth landing you all deserve.
Checked. Continue.
So I don't think we get a minimums call out.
300. 200. 100. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
Spoilers. No reverse engine 1 and 2. Decel.
Well, welcome to Seattle. Not too bad a landing. Certainly better than last time. Don't watch the video if you haven't
70 knots.
already. And for those of you who like to shoot off straight after the landing, I would ask you to subscribe, like the video, comment, follow me on Twitch. All of these things would be immensely helpful.
This is the conclusion of our flight. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign and the aircraft is parked safely at the gate. This will be your indication it is safe to move about the cabin.
Alaska 1341, contact ground on
We'd like to thank you for
126.25.
flying with us today. We appreciate your
Right.
visit and hope to see
Going to
you again.
Now we disarm
126.25
the
Alaska
speed brake.
1341.
Oh, it's already disarmed. That's interesting. Right, we will turn off the landing lights. And we're not going to tune ground because I know where we want to go. I want to go to the same place as the real world flight. Taxi light is on, anti-ice can come off. We'll start the APU. And we want to taxi to Gate Delta 5. Which, oh, I'm suddenly no longer sure where I'm going. Just gonna have a better look at my map. Should be in here. Yeah, should be in here. After landing checklist time.
After landing checklist.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Spoilers.
Disarm.
APU.
Start.
Radar.
Off.
Predictive
Oops.
wind shear system.
Radar is not off. Naughty me. There we are, now it is. Predictive wind shear system is in op.
Off.
After landing checklist complete.
Good, so that's our after landing checklist done, and we want to turn off, we want to ask the first officer to turn off the taxi light just before we pull onto stand to avoid blinding the ground crew. A lot of Hungarian narrow bodies here. So yeah, really we want to be parking somewhere on the right over there, but we don't seem to have many options. Oh, what about here? That'll do us. Charlie 15, eh? Oh. Oh well, we're committed now. Right.
Taxi light off.
Taxi light off, please. Not quite where I thought we'd end up. That's my map reading for you. Okay, so now we are parked with the parking brakes applied. I'm just going to consult the FS2 crew manual very briefly to see what happens next. After landing checklist we've done, so now we need to set the parking brake and turn the APU bleed on. And cut the engines. Now we'll make a PA to get the cabin crew to disarm the slides and cross-check.
Cabin crew disarm slides and cross-check.
And we will turn the seatbelts off, which we can't do. We'll turn the beacon off, which we can do. First officer should have turned the strobe to auto, I believe, but that's probably something that I failed to do. Turn off the fuel pumps. Turn external power on as it's available, and then we can get rid of the APU. And now we'll run the parking checklist.
Parking checklist.
APU bleed.
On.
Engines.
Off.
Seatbelts.
Off.
Exterior lights.
set,
Fuel pumps.
off,
Parking brake and shocks.
off and in.
Parking checklist complete.
And there you have it. That is the end of our flight with our first flight with the FS2 Crew Flight Crew A320 add-on. And as I say, I'm very pleased I have it. Thank you very much to Brian for giving me a press copy to test out. Is it worth the €14.95 asking price? I'd say it definitely is, if you're into your airliner flights. Any questions or comments, feel free to get in touch. Do please subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitch. And share the video if you have friends who you think might be interested in it. We've got a dodgy jetway here which isn't connected to the aircraft. It's a shame, never mind. So what's next for this channel? Well, there will be more airliner flights in the Airbus A320. I'm keen to fly to Vienna to test out the new Gaia Simulations scenery. And I'm also very shortly going to be starting a series of VFR flights around the UK. So that will probably be the next live stream I do. I'll probably do a shorter flight in the A320 to do a proper review of Flight Crew A320 at some point as well. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you very soon on Filbert Flies. Enjoy the rest of your days.